Someone was standing outside my apartment every night. This happened about 3 years ago when I moved into my first apartment after college. It wasn't a nice place. The building was old, the walls were thin, and the hallway lights flickered almost every night. Still, it was cheap and it was only 15 minutes from work. Every evening I got home around 11, made dinner, watched something on my laptop, and usually went to bed around 1 in the morning. That's when I started noticing him. The first night I looked out my living room window before closing the curtains. Across the street, beneath a broken streetlight, someone was standing completely still. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't smoking. He was simply facing my apartment building. I assumed he was waiting for someone. The next night, he was there again, same place, same dark coat, same motionless posture. I watched for almost a minute. He never moved. Eventually I shrugged, closed the curtains, and went to bed. By the fourth night, it started bothering me. I looked out the window just after midnight. There he was, exactly where he'd been every other night. The strange part wasn't that he stood there. It was that I never saw him arrive, and I never saw him leave. One Friday, I got home earlier than usual, around 10. The street was empty. I kept checking the window every few minutes. Nothing. Then, at exactly 12:17 a.m., he was suddenly there. I hadn't looked away for more than 30 seconds. There was no way someone could have walked into that spot without me noticing. Yet somehow, he had. That weekend, I mentioned it to the woman living across the hall. She frowned, then asked, "Dark coat?" I nodded. She went quiet. "I've seen him too." Before I could ask anything else, she quickly changed the subject. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Instead of closing the curtains, I left a small gap and kept watching. At exactly 1:03 a.m., the man moved. Not much. Just one slow step forward, then another. He crossed the empty street, toward my building. I felt my stomach tighten. He reached the sidewalk outside, then stopped. Directly beneath my apartment window, I couldn't see his face. The hood hid everything. I held my breath. 5 long minutes passed. Then, he slowly turned around and walked away into the darkness. The next morning, I asked the building manager if anyone had complained about someone standing outside at night. His expression changed immediately. He asked, "Did he ever come inside?" I said no. He looked relieved, then quietly said, "Keep it that way." Apparently, years earlier, a tenant had disappeared from the exact apartment I was renting. Neighbors claimed a man had been standing outside every night before it happened, always watching, always waiting. No one ever identified him. I moved out 2 weeks later. I never saw him again. At least, that's what I believed. A few months after moving, I was unpacking boxes in my new apartment. I opened the curtains for the first time. Across the street, under another broken streetlight, someone was standing perfectly still, facing my window. The voice on the baby monitor. I don't have children. That's why what happened still makes no sense. Last winter, I moved into a small townhouse on the edge of the city. The previous owners had left a few boxes behind. Most of it was junk. Old dishes, broken lamps, a baby monitor. I almost threw it away. Instead, I left it in a kitchen drawer and forgot about it. A few weeks later, around 2 in the morning, I woke up to a crackling sound. At first, I thought it was my phone vibrating. Then I realized the sound was coming from the kitchen. I opened the drawer. The baby monitor was on. The screen was black, but I could hear static. Then, a voice. Very quiet. Almost impossible to understand. It sounded like someone whispering, "He's upstairs." I froze. There was no second monitor, no camera, no baby. I switched it off and went back to bed. The next night, it turned on again by itself. This time the whisper was clearer. "Don't let him hear you." I searched the entire house, every room, every closet. Nothing. The attic was empty too. The following afternoon, I searched the model number online. It had been discontinued more than 15 years ago. According to the manual, it could only receive a signal from its matching unit. Without the second monitor, it shouldn't work at all. That night, I decided to record it. At 2:11 a.m., the static returned. Then the same voice whispered, "He's standing behind you." Every hair on my neck stood up. I didn't turn around. I grabbed the monitor and ran outside. The next morning, I drove back to the house with a friend. We played the recording together. There was only static, no whisper, no voice. I threw the baby monitor into a dumpster that afternoon. I never saw it again. A week later, I opened my mailbox. Inside was a small package with no return address. There was only one thing inside. The same baby monitor, already turned on,